The incursion and bombardment of Gaza is not about destroying Hamas. It is not about stopping rocket fire into Israel. It is not about achieving peace. The Israeli decision to rain death and destruction on Gaza, to use lethal weapons of the modern battlefield on a largely defenseless civilian population, is the final phase in the decades-long campaign to ethnically cleanse Palestinians. The assault on Gaza is about creating squalid, lawless, and impoverished ghettos in the West Bank and Gaza, where life for Palestinians will be barely sustainable. It is about building a series of ringed Palestinian enclaves where the Israeli military will have the ability to instantly shut off movement, food, medicine, and goods to perpetuate the misery. Privilege and power, especially military power, is a dangerous narcotic. Violence destroys those who bear the brunt of its force, but also those who try to use it to become gods. Ehud Barak, Israel's defense minister, said Israel is engaged in a war to the bitter end against Hamas in Gaza. A war? Israel uses sophisticated attack jets and naval vessels to bomb densely crowded refugee camps, schools, apartment blocks, mosques, and slums, to attack a population that has no air force, no air defense, no navy, no heavy weapons, no artillery units, no mechanized armor, no command and control, no army, and calls it a war. It is not a war. It is murder. The images of dead Palestinian children lined up as if asleep on the floor of the main hospital in Gaza are a metaphor for the future. Israel will from now on speak to the Palestinians in the language of death, and the language of death is all the Palestinians will be permitted to speak back. The use of terror and hunger to break a hostile population is one of the oldest forms of warfare. I watched the Bosnian Serbs employ the same tactic when I was in Sarajevo. And I also watched the Bosnian Serbs, like the Israelis, attempt to justify their systematic destruction of the city with thousands of dead and wounded on a few paltry Muslim mortars and light arms fire. Those who orchestrate such sieges do not grasp the terrible rage born of long humiliation, indiscriminate violence, and abuse. A father or a mother whose child dies because of a lack of vaccines or proper medical care does not forget. A boy whose ill grandmother dies while being detained at an Israeli checkpoint does not forget. Families who carry the broken bodies of their children to hospitals do not forget. All who endure humiliation, abuse, and the murder of those they love do not forget. This rage becomes a virus within those who eventually stumble out into the daylight. Is it any wonder that 71% of children interviewed at a school in Gaza recently said they wanted to be a martyr? Militant movements feed off of martyrs, and Israel is delivering the maimed and the dead by the truckload. Hamas fighters, armed with little more than light weapons, a few rockets, small mortars, are battling one of the most sophisticated military machines on the planet. And the determined resistance by these doomed fighters exposes throughout the Arab world the gutlessness of dictators like Egypt's Hosni Mubarak. who refuses to open Egypt's common border with Gaza despite the slaughter. Israel, when it bombed Lebanon 2 years ago, sought to destroy Hezbollah. By the time it withdrew, humiliated, it had swelled Hezbollah's power base and handed it heroic status throughout the Arab world. And Israel is doing the same for groups like Hamas. The refusal by our political leaders, from Barack Obama to all but 5 members of Congress, to the major media, to speak out in defense of the rule of law and fundamental human rights exposes our cowardice and our hypocrisy. Those who openly condemn the Israeli crimes, including Israelis such as Yuri Avneri, Tom Segov, Ilan Pape, Gideon Levy, Amira Haas, as well as American stalwarts, Noam Chomsky, Dennis Kucinich, Norman Finkelstein, and Richard Falk, are ignored or spurned like lepers. They are denied a platform in the press. They are rendered nearly voiceless. Falk, the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the occupied territories, and a former professor of international law at Princeton, was refused entry into Israel in December, detained for 20 hours, and deported. Never mind that nearly all of these voices are Jewish. Falk labeled the assault before Israel made its incursion into Gaza against the Palestinians as a crime against humanity. He reminded us that under international law, collective punishment of the Palestinians in Gaza is a flagrant and massive violation of international humanitarian law as laid down in Article 33 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. The public debate about the Gaza attack engages in the absurd pretense that it is Israel, not the Palestinians, whose security and dignity is being threatened. This blind defense of Israeli brutality towards the Palestinians is a betrayal of the memory of all those killed in other genocides in other times. From the Holocaust to Cambodia to Rwanda to Bosnia, the lesson of the Holocaust is not that Jews are special. It is not that Jews are unique. It is not that Jews are eternal victims. The lesson of the Holocaust is that when you have the capacity to halt genocide, and you do not, no matter who carries out that genocide or who it is directed against, you are culpable. And we are very culpable. The F-16 fighter jets, the Apache attack helicopters, the 250-pound smart GBU-39 bombs are all part of the $3 billion military aid we give to Israel. Palestinians are being killed tonight with American-made weapons. But perhaps our callous indifference to human suffering is to be expected. We, after all, kill women and children on an even vaster scale in Iraq and Afghanistan.